Hello everyone, welcome to the art shop. We're here again with our after hours demo, and today we've got a special guest. We've got Lauchean from the Graphic Quill. The art shop would like to acknowledge, respect and share our thanks and acknowledgement of the Kulin Nation. The art shop is in the Kulin Nation, home of the Wurundjeri and Bunurong peoples, Australia's first creators and artists. So again, thank you all for coming. We'd also like to thank today, we've got Pilot as a big brand sponsor today. We've all been provided some little Pilot pens in our little baggies, as well as Canson, who provided some Arsha's hot press paper, which is one of your favourites, and some Saunders Waterford hot press to give a go as well. So absolutely have a play with those at home. I'm going to hand you straight over to Lauchean because she's got lots to tell you, but please check out the Graphic Quill. Your website has so many resources and amazing things on it, and you run workshops and all the things. Tell us all about it.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Well, my name's Lauchean, as you hear it. I've been doing calligraphy a very, very long time and worked in my business for 35 years. And I've been full-time calligrapher that whole time, and doing all sorts of different work. But I'm trained as a graphic designer and finished artist. And I used to be a printer, so that's where calligraphy came into my life, through discovering someone wanting an invitation to be printed, and then I found out it was handwritten and went off and did ticket writing and that sort of thing from there. So everything expanded out of that one little encounter with calligraphy and artwork through the printing business that I was working in. So the things that we're going to be talking about today are this new tool relatively in my working life, and it's an absolute little godsend. These are Pilot pens and they run on cartridges, and there are lots of things that you can do with these that are beyond what you would imagine a cartridge pen could be used for. And then I'll also demonstrate using the speedball pens, which come in lots of different nib sizes. What we're concentrating on today is broad edge pen writing, which simply means this is a broad edge, it's a square edge, and all the historical styles are based on using this pen. And they began with the quill, and then that progressed from there onto the steel nibs, and there were lots of different steel nibs that were made, and they're still used today. Basically the same sort of tools, except we don't use the quill. So I will demonstrate for you first of all the Pilot pen and how to get using those before we get into touching these. So this is the beautiful Pilot pen, which comes to you with just a simple base, barrel and nib without any cartridge in it. So to start with using these as nibs, you push this end of the cartridge into the barrel of this, into the working end of it, and then you can squeeze that ink so that it comes down. You can see it moving through the barrel a little bit. You can dip it into a bit of water, and that encourages the ink to go down into the barrel. And then your pen should be ready to go, which it is. Nice and easy to go with those. These Pilot pens come in 6mm, 4.5, 3.8, 3mm, and the top end of the sizes are the best to use. The main reason why I use these nice large nibs is because you can get a real feel for the pen actually touching the paper, the whole edge of the nib as it touches the paper. If you try to work with a smaller nib, you won't feel the nib as it touches the paper. And this is the most important thing, is getting this nice flat edge that is touching the paper all the way through the strokes that we're writing. So it's how beautiful they work. Just really simple to use. sounds simple, but of course these things never are when it comes to writing. So what I'm going to do now is I'll just demonstrate writing a word. If you wanted to stand up and have a look close over, you might want to do that. I'll just simply write. I'll begin with a traditional style. This style is called unseal, which means 1/2 inch or 1 inch. And the half unseal is 1/2 inch. So there we have that handwritten. Now I'm going to write in an italic style in this pen.
Have that edge, and it's the pressure that's causing angle. Yeah.
It's got nothing to do with pressure necessarily. It's the touch of the pen on the paper that's going to draw the letters for you.
Beautiful.
So
it's also to do with sort of the angle of the so it's when it's skinny, it's because you're using the skinnier versus the...
Okay, I'll show you that. So when you take the pen in hand, what you need is a baseline to be writing on. So every style that you write will have a particular pen angle that you're going to work with the nib. So say for instance we're writing the unseal style, it's written with a fairly flat pen angle. So when you say a flat pen angle, it's the pen angle, the angle of the pen to the writing line. So this is a fairly flat pen angle. That is about, well, that was about 25 degrees, but you flatten it out a little bit more. And that's about between about 20 or 10. So the flatter the pen angle, the wider the stroke when you're pulling down vertically. When you steepen that pen angle, the strokes become a little thinner as you bring the pen around. So as you change the angle of the pen, the strokes get thinner and thinner. So the way that you're holding that pen in your hand, it moves from where you hold it as a base position down here where the barrel of the pen runs over the knuckle, and you should be holding the pen with a gap between the thumb and the forefinger, and that's so that you can move the pen around like this. Never hold your pen like this or like that you see so many people on wonderful Instagram doing. It's just crazy. You need to be able to play with your tool and let it roll in your hand and slip around. You're gripping it, but you're not murdering it. So the angle that the unseal is written on is a fairly flat angle. So when you do a vertical stroke and then a horizontal stroke, the strokes are going to be about the same width. When you take the pen onto a greater angle, a pen angle, which you do use for italic, then what you'll notice when you take the stroke from the vertical into the horizontal, the stroke becomes heavier as you're taking it across this way. So one of the things that most people have difficulty with is holding that pen on the paper and being consistent with that. So the vertical strokes for a usual style between 30, that's normally written about 30 degrees, which is most of these styles here, between 30 and 45. So these are the basic strokes. These are the strokes that come into the different alphabets that you'll write. So you'll have vertical, horizontal, diagonal, and then back from right to left. So when you're coming this way, the stroke is going to be a little bit thinner. So that's basically most of the strokes that you're going to do. Then the alphabets that you'll work on will be either a rounded hand or a Roman hand. And the Roman hands are like the uncial, which is an early Greek style, which dates from about the 4th to around the 9th century. It is written with a flat pen angle, and the shape of the O is really rounded. It's not circular, but you do have a circular shape on the inside of the letter. And then when you're coming to do a Gothic style, the strokes become straight. The pen angle changes a little bit. And then you come into the narrow styles. This is the O shape written with a narrow style upright. And then you have, with a slightly steeper pen angle, you're looking at the shape of the O, which has an elliptical shape on the inside of it for italic. So with italic, the writing is on about a 5 to 7 degree slant, and the pen angle that you're holding the pen is, setting the pen to paper is going to be around 30 to 40 degrees for the angle of the pen to the paper. So the angle of the pen is the angle that you find at the base of the stroke to your writing line. So italic has a slightly narrower stroke because of the angle of the pen and the slope of the writing. So what you find is these are the base of all alphabets, and then there are lots and lots of different variations between those. For instance, when you come into doing a pointed Gothic, which is it's also called italicized Gothic, which means that it can be put onto a slight angle. It relates a little to, quite a lot actually, to the italic handwriting, and it falls between a basic, more rigid Gothic and italic, and then into the pointed Gothic. So there's slight variations in the styles, and a good way to learn the styles is beginning with the rounded hands, like the uncial and the bookhand, and then from there you can move into a Gothic or into italic. Italic is a more difficult style to learn because the shape of the letters are elliptical, and they can be a lot of different variations in width, whereas rounded styles, they come with a basic rounded style which stays the same. So if you start with uncial, you can then and that uncial alphabet, which is just down the end there, that one has neither capitals nor minuscules. It's just one alphabet, because at that point they didn't have minuscule letters or small letters, not lowercase, because that's a term which relates to type. And they're not fonts, because that also relates to type. So if you start with uncial, then go on to another rounded hand, like the foundation hand or bookhand, and then into either Gothic or italic. It's a good way to learn, because then you, with the rounded hands, you have the capitals, which are then, you can use those with your, both the Gothic and the italic. The capitals are all based around the Roman hand, and the rules remain the same when you relate to the width of the letters and the heights of the letters. So I'll demonstrate to you some uncial letters, and I'll just rule a couple of lines here and tell you a little bit about how you measure the lines for the uncial and any alphabet. So every alphabet has a certain number of nib widths which measure the height of the letters, and they can vary a little bit when you want to make different versions of the alphabet, but every style has a certain number of pen widths, and a pen width is the width of the pen when you hold it at right angles to the writing line. So you measure the 4 pen widths, and they need to just touch and not overlap, and they need to be quite straight, and that gives you the correct width of the height of the letters depending on the pen that you're using. So if you then are going to want to write with a different size pen, you measure the lines with that size pen, and it'll give you a different height for the letters.
So was that for a specific, was that for unseal or for
It's
all?
for every style that you do, that you write and you'll learn, they come with a specific number of pen widths for the height of the letter. So that is the X height or the O height, or the body of the letter. And then the ascenders and the descenders, they will also have a certain number of pen widths for the height and depth of those, and they vary across all the alphabets. So the one that I'm doing here now is unseal. So you can see here the difference in the height of the letters when you're using a different pen size. So I'm going to write, that's the right one. I'll just draw those again down here, and I'll just fudge it, and we will write the word. Yeah, exactly. Beginning perfectly with its lovely A. Oh, it's all a bit rickety tonight.
I've got you on a funny desk you don't normally work on. So,
Yeah,
sorry.
any excuse.
It's the cold air.
So
Thank you.
then we will write smaller. Try not to talk while I'm doing it, otherwise I will go all over the place. Whoops. So, you see the different sizes. Yeah, so what I'm going to do now is I'll write again, and I'll reduce the height a little bit. So we'll write a little bit heavier in weight. So I've got here. And I'm going to show you how to do some blending with the pen. So what you do with these, in this pen is a turquoise colour ink, and in this one we have red. So I'll show you a simple method, which is holding the pen perpendicular, and what happens is the red will flow down into the turquoise, and we'll see how that works. A lot of this is random, so let's hope it works. Now, keep in mind, I'm writing with a blue pen here. So you see how it ranges from one colour to the next. And that's simply by dropping the ink down into the...
And you only held that on for like 3 seconds.
Yeah, actually, according to the instructions, it's meant to be about 10 seconds, between 5 and 10 seconds to get the colour down there.
And just to clean the rest of the ink out, you just draw until it's back to its normal colour?
Oh yeah, I just pulled out some extra strokes on there, just to bring the ink down a bit further back into its turquoise again.
And a bit of water.
A little bit of water, and just wipe it off. What you really always need to have in your setup is rags and paper and water and that kind of thing. So now I've got just the blue. I will write in italic. And the other way of blending is to dip into a colour. So I've just dipped one side of the pen into the colour. And it comes through to green. And then I'll give it a little trick and I'll dip it into this. So what I'm dipping into here, these two are opaque inks. More opaque than your usual watercolour. I'll go back into the yellow. Just the tiny corner of the nib is enough. And I could even rinse that out just a little and then wipe it. Otherwise the colours tend to get a bit... they get a bit muddy. You have the blending of the colours working through there. So then you can do the same thing with these speedball nibs. So I've got a large nib here, it's a 1. So I'll dip that fully into the yellow. And normally you'd want the ink to come, right up into this, but we don't really need that to happen with the just dipping of the colours like this. So dip it in one side, and then the other side.
I'm sorry, Lauchean, these are with the speedball nibs on the speedball handle. What size are you using?
This is a 1.
A 1. Beautiful, thank you. Because we have those as a set or we have them individually.
So there's colour that's drawn there. And you can see that's with the other mixture of the Cali ink and the Winsor and Newton.
You can hold up the bottles, that'd be great. So that's the Winsor and Newton calligraphy yellow.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the Cali, and these are known as opaque inks. And the Iriziku, they are watercolour paints. They're more like dyes. And they do work beautifully in their pens, and they flow through gorgeously. But they also they have a totally different look than what that kind of ink does. So I'll show you now with the Pilot Colours ink.
Can I ask for a complete amateur like myself in this? Would you recommend one type of instrument, tool, pen / over the other for somebody who is not good and would like to get better? Yes.
I think to
Do you
start.
find one easier than the other to use?
Oh yeah. Well, the Pilot pens are really easy to use.
Yep.
So they mean that when you start writing, all you're concentrating on is getting the
Because it
the
doesn't
lettering down
require
on the
any
paper,
top up,
and
is
you
that
don't
sort
have
of
to
thing?
worry about dipping into the
Yeah.
ink, getting the right amount of ink on the nib, and then putting that on the paper and flowing through. And these are turning a bit muddy. So you need to be, a lot more careful with the way that you're dotting into the inks and keeping the colours there. These orange inks is absolutely beautiful, such a bright colour.
How do you stop yourself from just adding 400 flourishes? The flourishes look so fun.
I know, I can't stop myself most of the time.
That is absolutely stunning, Lauchean. Thank you so much for showing us a rapid fire session of calligraphy. This has been hard and fast, but so wonderful. The biggest thank you from the art shop. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks. Thanks for being such a nice audience.
And of course, if anyone would like to learn more from the master, you run workshops and classes
I do.
regularly. Absolutely check the Graphic Quill website. So thank you so much. We've really appreciated having you come in. Thank you.
Thanks. It's been good to do it. These products are really fantastic to play with. So any questions?
Yeah. Any questions?
Your paper of choice. You did mention hot press.
Well, the paper of choice is the cheapest to start with, and so you can buy pads here, which are like the bond paper in pads, and they'll come. You have all sorts of different brands with bond papers.
Yes, we do. We probably have 4 different brands of bond papers.
Yeah.
The easiest thing whenever you're looking at a variety product, so something where there's a couple, jump on our website quickly and have a look at bond paper, and then you can have them all next to each other. There's online reviews and things you can have a look at. You can look at Lauchean's favourites list. She has some good favourites list on her website of things you like to use, or on your Instagram. I believe we've reposted one of your favourites, which is great. But it's more about giving it a go, isn't it? And then seeing what you love and what you don't.
The other thing is, with using papers, you start off with a basic paper, which will be a bond paper. So there's also this paper here, which I have, which is a reflex paper. Other than that, there's cartridge paper, which is a heavier weight paper, and that will have a bit of tooth to it. So you'll get more of this kind of effect here. So this paper that I'm working on is a me-tongue, isn't it?
That one's
Canson.
a standard me-tongue
Yep.
by Canson, and it has the textured side and the smooth side. So Lauchean's actually done some of these on the textured side, so I think that's why you've gotten a few little fun spruiks and things, but
Yep.
then there's also the smooth side, so you can choose.
That's why I love this sort of thing when
that
it happens.
breakup,
It looks like it's not meant to happen, but it works really damn well when it does happen, because it adds a lot of really beautiful texture to the writing that you're doing. So you're not going to practice on a paper like this though. So what you want to do is start with a basic paper like a cartridge paper. The thing is, you want to see your lines through it, because at first you're not going to know how to rule lines or what size lines to rule and how to do all that kind of thing. So get a lightweight paper, which will be like a 80 or 90 gram copy paper, which is this one. And you need to be very particular about what you get. It needs to be, the Reflex Vivid is a great one to use. And then, like I said, the bond papers in the pads here, they are fantastic to use as well. Then when you're moving on into doing a project, you want to start practicing with a better quality paper that's going to give you a nicer line. So they'll be like these Canson papers here, or the cartridge paper.
Or the Arches hot press they've got in their sample pack.
Yeah.
So cotton behaves a little bit differently, doesn't it?
You wouldn't use Arches paper unless you are doing a finished project, and you want to work your way up into that paper, but you still would want to practice onto that paper before you do the finished project. And beginners are going to be a long way off using that kind of thing, because they are expectedly expensive, because they are made especially for art. They are handmade papers, and the paper that you would use is the Arches is a hot press smooth paper, which means the paper has been put through rollers, hot press, to give a smooth finish so that you can actually write on it with your nibs and get a good finish to it. So this sort of paper is fantastic for, you can fold them and make them into cards and that kind of thing as well. So they work really well for writing on.
I think we would love to talk about this literally all night if we could.
Yeah, but what I
Nick
think
tells
you
us we've
need
got
to do,
close. So everyone come on
You
up
need to
close.
go
Let's
and
be informal
try
and let's
them
have a
out.
go. Yeah, let's try it. All right, thank you again.
here's some of this. So there's colours there to use,
Come on up, be on time.
and there are nibs that you can try writing with. Looking down into this.
So you squeeze it all into the
What you're doing is you're squeezing the ink down there so you can see it running into the end of it. And sometimes when it